tuôn xuống khát vọng chẳng lại rung sáng đắm tay hàng dẫu gắng kiệt chiến na dẫu mi thành gió na dây xu in tấu qua chiến phát tu dẫu gắng dẫu mi dẫu gắng hay ông kia ba bát sen trắng hè dẫu gắng dẫu mi hay ông kia ba bát sen trắng hè dẫu gắng ma đến ba sen dẫu mi đến ba sen lúc xin cuộc tế lang tàu hình ba sen liền sa phu dẫu gắng ma đến ba sen dẫu mi đến ba sen lúc xin cuộc tế lang tàu hình ba sen liền sa phu.
During this current crisis, we have been working around the clock to increase our podcast and blog production to the highest possible level, knowing that at this time, every little bit counts. However, we're running into limitations in this effort due to our budget constraints. As all of our work relies on the power of donation, if you find this content of value, please consider supporting our mission so that we can continue our efforts at this time.
Dẫu gắng hay ông kia ba bát sen trắng hè dẫu gắng dẫu mi hay ông kia ba bát sen trắng hè tu mẹ niềm than chẳng mà dần dẫu gắng ta té ô dẫu mi té ý bè lý xóa đến bát sen đến khi dẫu gắng kiệt chiến na dẫu mi té gió na dây xu in tấu qua chiến phát tu dẫu gắng dẫu mi dẫu gắng hay ông kia ba bát sen trắng hè dẫu gắng dẫu mi hay ông kia ba bát sen trắng hè dẫu gắng ma đến ba sen dẫu mi đến ba sen lúc xin cuộc tế lang tàu hình ba sen liền sa phu dẫu gắng ma đến ba sen dẫu mi đến ba sen lúc xin cuộc tế lang tàu hình ba sen liền sa phu dẫu gắng dẫu mi dẫu gắng hay ông kia ba bát sen trắng hè dẫu gắng dẫu mi hay ông kia ba bát sen trắng hè dẫu gắng dẫu mi dẫu gắng hay ông kia ba bát sen trắng hè dẫu gắng dẫu mi hay ông kia ba bát sen trắng hè dẫu gắng hay ông kia ba bát sen trắng hè.
Ye ghé biểnကြီးအောက်မှာမောင်ယူပိုင်ရေခဲပြင်ကြီးတစ်ခုအောက်မှာအရှင်လက်လက်အမြုပ်ခံရတဲ့တိုင်းပြည်ကြီးတစ်ခုအောက်မှာဘယ်နဲ့ဖျားမှမခိုနားနိုင်တော့တဲ့ဖျားချောင်းတစ်ခုအောက်မှာပူးတွဲမြုပ်နှံထားကမ္ဘာစစ်ကြီးများအောက်မှာပျက်စီးဝါကျင်နေပြီဖြစ်တဲ့ယဉ်ကျေးမှုပြတိုက်ကြီးတစ်ခုအောက်မှာတစိမ့်အမှတ်အသားပြတ်ငွေစက္ကူများအောက်မှာအယိုးငေါထွက်မျက်လုံးဟောက်ပတ်နဲ့ကြေးကျွန်များအောက်မှာဂူပေါဝါမှာကြောက်တုံးများပိတ်ဆို့လျက်ကြောက်ခဲ့လူသားများအောက်မှာနောက်ပြန်ဆုပ်နေတဲ့စင့်ကဲဖြစ်စဉ်များအောက်မှာမီးတွင်းထဲမှာတွင်ဆုံးပါသွားတဲ့ကဘာကြီးရဲ့မိခင်သမုတ်တရားကြီးတစ်ခုအောက်မှာဘသူမှမထင်မှတ်ထားတဲ့ရေခဲပြင်ကြီးတစ်ခုအောက်မှာ Under the Great Ice Sheet by Maung Yu Bai, translated by Gogo The and James Bryan. Under the Great Ice Sheet, a great country has been buried alive. Under the great country, a great church where God no longer shelters. Under the great church, the great walls welded together 6 feet under. Under the great wars, a great museum of culture, dilapidated and yellowing. Under the great museum, banknotes without currency. Under the banknotes, slaves with protruding bones and sunken eyes. Under the slavery, a Stone Age cave sealed by stones. Under the Stone Age, regressive evolution. The ocean, the mother of Mother Earth, who died in labor. Under the ocean, a great ice sheet, unanticipated. Under the great ice sheet.
I'm really pleased to be welcoming Mark here to Inside Myanmar podcast. Mark is speaking to us from Chin State. He's of Chin background, so we're going to get a chance to learn a little bit about his community and how they're doing these days. So, Mark, thank you so much for joining us here at Inside Myanmar podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, so I know it's no easy thing these days to make time. You never know when you're going to get the internet on and what kind of emergencies are going to be happening. So I really appreciate that you were able to make the time for us here. And I understand that, just to warn listeners, it's a bit noisy in your background. It's the best that you could do given the circumstances. What can you tell us a little bit about what all is going on behind you?
Okay, thank you very much for letting our voice heard to the other part of the world. Currently, I have to come to the place where the internet is working well. And there they are doing some renovation or construction at the place where I'm going. So there are a bit of noise in the background. Yep.
Right. So it's much harder to get internet contact these days. So very glad that you had it there, and we'll work through any technical or noise difficulties. So before we get into anything else, I wanted to ask you if you can tell us a little bit about the Chin people. We probably have many listeners that are listening in that don't know anything or know very little about Chin community, the Chin history, the geography, the culture, the religion. So before we get into how things are going on today, if you can just start us off from the very beginning and speak to the listener, who are the Chin?
Thank you very much. In Myanmar, the Chin people, or the hilly people, I should say, in the western part. So currently the NUG, National Unity Government of Myanmar, have militarily divided into 5 parts: Eastern Division, Western Division, Southern, Northern, Center, and now currently we are in the Western Division of Myanmar. So we are hilly people, and in the Chin, unlike any other states, inside the Chin people we have different tribe or different language speakers. Like we have Zomi, we have Laimi, we have this Cookie, and we have so on. We are inside the Chin state. We have different dialect speaking people of maybe I think 7 to 8 dialect, if I'm not wrong. So we are how to say, we have been we have our ancestor in Myanmar, we have our ancestor in India, Bangladesh, and when the English coming and when they give us independence, we have been apart through this different part of the countries. So in Myanmar, we are staying in Chin states. In India, our people are staying in Mizoram and some in Churachampur, and some people in Nagaland, In Bangladesh, I'm not sure the geographical location of our people, so that we are separated into these few countries. So yeah, that's the brief story of Chin people. Yep.
So you mentioned that there are these different dialects, different languages. Can you clarify for listeners, when speaking Chin, is there any common ground with Burmese? Or are there any similarities between Burmese and Chin language? And then among the different Chin languages, can people understand each other with a different accent, or are they completely different Chin languages?
We have totally different different language with Burmese, and if we don't learn, it's just like English and Burmese between our languages and Burmese languages. Also under the Chin, as I say, we have Zomi, Asho, Matu, Cho, and Kuki and Mizo. All our languages are different too. So some words some similar words like mom, dad, that's it. And if we don't learn their language, we don't understand what they are speaking. So in Chin state itself, we have different dialect, different languages. But in Chin state, our cultures are more or less the same as like our dances, our dresses, and our cultures, and the celebration we do, and more or less the same of the Chin people. Yeah.
Right. So when you're meeting someone from a different Chin tribe, aside from very popular nouns and other words like that, you can't communicate with one another because the languages are so different. And then, of course, if you want to have any kind of success in Myanmar, you have to learn Burmese, which is not the native language of anyone in your community after your Chin dialect. But you mentioned that the culture among the different Chin tribes is very similar.
Okay. Let's say in the Chin culture, our people have a similar, like the celebrations of marriages are more or less the same among the Chin states people, and also our celebrations of New Year's are more or less the same. It's just 1 or 2 day apart, or just 1 week apart. It's categorized into same periods. So and we also believe that we are the descendants of Zomi people. So that's our main forefather have been from the same from the same ancestor. So that's why we have like a similar culture. Most our similar culture. Before then, we are not Christian, and I think Christian have been entering to our Chin state like 1,800. Like yeah, it's in 1,800 around there. Christianity have started coming to Chin Hill, and now currently majority of the Chin state peoples are Christian. So is we believe that we are the descendants of Zomi people. So it's like our forefather go back to like well, they call it it's a Tibeto-Burman. So yeah, that's the our forefathers. That's what we believe.
What are the Zomi people?
The Zomi people, then that as I said, the Zomi people we include like Mizo, Kuki, Zomi, and all. We have branches out from there, and then we when they like migrated slowly from the Mongoloid Tibetan. That's what we believe. Then we come to the Chinland Valley, and we come up to Kabul Valley, and now we settle in the Chin states.
Right. And historically, mostly before the 19th century, as you said, most Chin were animists. They had different types of animist beliefs until the missionaries, I believe it was the American missionaries, came and converted the first few Chin tribes. And in my understanding, the Christian faith among the Chin people goes back to the 19th century. So looking today in the 21st century, how would you characterize the Christian belief and faith and culture of the Chin communities? What shape does it take? What does it look like?
The Chin, okay. In the Chin states, they are, as I say, majority are Christian and majority are Protestant, and there are lots of missionary among our people. So we are a strong believer in Christianity, I should say, because the whole Chin state we have lots of missionary who have even go back to the America, Australia for missionary and all. So they currently in our states, I think we have a very before this coup, we have a very independent or free worshipping status in Chin states so far. Yep, it's been I think around 10 to 15 years that we have freedom of worship in our states.
So your freedom of worship only goes back 10 or 15 years?
Yeah, before then it's a military regime. As you know, Burmese is mainly ruled by militarism. So at that time, we don't have much freedom of worship in our Chin state. Our churches, our cross has been destroyed every now and then.
Right, right. So how did Christian culture and religion start to change in the Chin community in the last 10 to 15 years as greater religious freedom was allowed?
As you know, when we get democracy, when we get elected government around 2015, so it started with that, and we have we already have our churches, our community, and our people have been grouped into different type of this Christianity. And when it come to 2015, we have I should say we have no outside intruder about the religion from that. We can freely build our churches. We can protect our land, our churches, our community.
And how did that feel to have that greater religious freedom?
Of course, that's great. I mean, these 10 to 15 years of democracy have been very, very different. Different level of our living standard, because the government have really tried to be better. The government have really tried to work hard. So we have tasted like 10 or 15 years of democracy. So I think that is also one of the main trigger that when the coup come in February, we know the taste of democracy. So we are giving our life to protect or to get back that democracy, or better democracy.
Right. And in your case, in the case of your community, it's not just a democracy of being able to vote for who you want to and having certain kinds of basic rights in your life. It's also your actual religious faith. It's your religious institution. It's your religious buildings, that this is also what you're trying to preserve.
Yep, I think that is also one of the things that we try to preserve.
Right, right. So we talked a bit about the Chin people and just their background, geography, religion, language. So have a bit of an overview for the listener. I want to go from general to specific and start to learn more about you and learn more about your background, your family, your biography. So as far as you are comfortable, can you tell us a bit about your life story and your background?
Yep. Thank you very much. And I was born in I'm Zomi. In Chin State, as I said, we have Zomi and other tribes. So I'm Zomi, and from the northern part of Chin States. I was born there in a small town. So then I was brought back to the Kalay Valley, and I grown up in the place where I can get a good Burmese education. And personally, I finished my MBA from UK by through distance learning, and I have been working here as one of the business trainer before the coup. So when the coup come in, then I step back or I come back to the States with my people, and we are now fighting in every possible way we can from our land. We call it Zoland. It's under Chin States.
Right. So you mentioned coming from a small Chin village, eventually earning your MBA through a UK university. Is that unusual for someone of your background? Were there other people in your community that were able to achieve that kind of education?
I think it's quite hard to get that, actually. My parents, particularly, they have worked really hard to support that type of money, because in our country, we don't usually have, a good part-time work to support ourselves to go to the school or MBA. It's solely rely on our parents' support. If our parents can support, we can study as far as we can. Or maybe some people, if they are clever or if they are very, very good at study, they'll get some sponsor, like medium in the education. Like me, I'm not really expert, I'm not really brilliant, but I just want to continue my education. Like me, then our parents are so sponsor for us, because people wouldn't sponsor us because we are not that top level in academy. So it's quite hard. So for me, luckily, my father, he have to flee into United States for like working around 10 years during my education to support our family and our education. So that's the way we are trying. But to earn inside our land and to support or to get a good education, like internationally recognized education, is quite hard in our country.
Right. So it really required a family sacrifice and everyone in the family uniting for that goal, for you to be able to achieve that higher education, to be able to make it happen and give you the future that they weren't able to have themselves.
Yep, exactly.
How about Christian faith in your personal life and in your family background? What kind of role did Christianity play?
Okay, my forefather, they were like this, a non-Christian. My grandfather was non-Christian, and my father was the first one who have converted into. My father and his brothers, I should say, they are the first one who have converted into Christian. And my father was, at that time, he was a Roman Catholic. My uncle was a Seventh-day Adventist. They were started converting into that, and they now currently I'm in Seventh-day Adventist.
And when you talked about your great-grandfather being non-Christian, was he animist, or what was his background?
Yeah, enemies. They worship some kind of unseen, what should I say? Yeah, unseen spirit. Personally, I have grown up in a very, very like strict religion family. We go church every week, every Saturday, and we learn a lot of this Bible teaching. So religion or this faith have played a very major role in my life. Religion is, for me personally, it's really core personal belief. So it doesn't much differentiate my social being with other friends of mine, like with the Burmese, with the other group of my Chinland. But it's a core belief that I have in my heart, that it's the preaching, the love, the caring, all. I feel that for me personally rooted through the Bible teaching, because I was grown up in that community where religion or where this Bible teaching have been a very strong core value for my family.
Right. That's beautiful. And you mentioned how you got your MBA from a university in the UK. What were you currently doing with it? What was your professional status before February 1st?
Before February 1st, I was doing this business training. So I train business owners and their team for their strategic planning and all. So I do work mostly with business leaders. I train them. I have been working with around 40 to 50 companies closely. Yeah.
Where were you based?
I travel around, usually Rangoon, Manly, and these big cities, because in those cities, most of the business owners were located.
And how was that business going?
That was a very good booming business. We have started in 2016, and that's really good one. And we are, rocket up to the very high. I mean, the situation is really good. The business is really good until the COVID has come, and the second big strike was the coup, because we also work closely with other trainers around the world. Like we work with Dr. Marsha Goldsmith, and we work with John Maxwell, leadership expert, and all. So our business has been quite good before those disaster.
How did your business manage during the pandemic?
During pandemic, it was at first it was really hard, and after 3 to 4 months, then we are used to that new normal. So we have to work through the online, and we talk with our business owner virtually. So I think that's quite okay. After 4 to 5 months, we can. It's not rocket high, but it's going quite normal. After 3 to 4 months of COVID. Yeah, before February.
Right. Yeah, just kind of getting along. I want to talk a bit more about your background in the Chin community and where that fits overall in the Myanmar experience. And the reason I want to mention this on this podcast platform, we have mainly been speaking to Burmese Buddhists that have been activists in some ways and involved in some ways. And we are reaching out to more and more voices and trying to bring in greater diversity to hear the wider experience of living in Myanmar and all the different forms and shapes that takes than the standard majority view. And I think one of the things that we're finding during these protests is that even the young Generation Z of Burmese Buddhists are starting to realize to a greater extent the privilege that they have in the system and the way that other minorities are biased or discriminated against in ways that they're not, in ways that many of the guests that we've had on this podcast that have been Burmese Buddhists have shared quite open and quite vulnerably their lack of sensitivity and lack of concern for the ethnic experience in their country. And so I'd like to check in with you, and I'm curious what you can share about how it's been being a member of a minority community in Myanmar in ways that even the mainstream community of Burmese Buddhists wouldn't necessarily know what your life and your background has been because they haven't been in those shoes.
Yeah, I have been like working closely, or I have been together with Burma a lot, because I have to study in their land and I have to stay with them. Even my business partners are mostly Burma, and I known most of the very good monks in my life too. I have worked very closely with them too. So the core belief of Buddhists, it's very peaceful. I love it. And those who really study about real Buddhists, we don't have much problem, or we don't have much against each other, or in terms of belief. And on the other hand, for the minority, before then, if we say, let's say the military have come up to our Chin Hill and they destroy our crosses, our churches, they say, that's it, because they can't feel the tense or the brutalness we have faced. So in that time, we just need to we explain them. For them, it's like they just read the newspaper, because they never feel about that. So in this February coup, we work hand in hand together. Even they suffered a lot, then they come to realize that, okay, this should be the case, because the Buddhist teaching itself, or the propaganda of the military, is very strong among the Burmese people, that when we say that how cruel the military are in our land, they can't believe. When we say that they rape our people, they say, is that really? Like they were looking at us as though we are lying to them. So, but at that time too, I can understand them, because this is the experience they never face. Because this is not the things that they heard from what the military do, or what the monk which cover the military act do. They never heard of it. So this time they face about all this in practical, then they come to understand about how the minority had suffered, or how the powerless people have been tortured in other part of the country.
So, have you actually spoken to Bamar friends who have expressed some kind of remorse or regret or openness now that they're having a greater sensitivity or belief in your experience that they didn't have before?
Of course, they even my co-workers, and even my now currently for this Spring Revolution, I am working closely with the Burma people too. So I have had every now and then that we before then when you guys said, we just noticed about that, but we can never believe or imagine how cruel it will be. So that these the things that I often heard from them, that this like they say it's sorry that we can't feel before, or we can't heard your voice as loud as now before.
That's a really powerful validation. So you've spent most of your life having your Bamar friends not necessarily understand or believe or sympathize with the suffering that the Chin people have gone through, and now there's been this opening on at least part of some to recognize that happened and even to apologize for not realizing that before. So, what does that feel like?
It's good. I mean, it's good that they understand more deeper. And that they understand the situation, or they come to really see what will be the suffering if we don't really work together in the country, because human rights violation and every other things like before, then people usually used to think it's the act of NGO. They will just generate money through that name, and they report back to the Western or any other country. That's what generally what they are thinking. So now they understand about, okay, that's human right is necessary in our country. Okay, every right is like valuable. To hear other people's voices is also it's very beneficial. Or to respect other people, what is other people's stand or other people's culture is also very important, because the minority voice, not only in our country, minority voice is not necessarily heard as loud as them, because they're a minority. Because if everything is okay, then the majority usually they don't care about that. But in this situation, especially in Myanmar Burmese coup, the minority people who have been suffering, or we have been ready, or we have always been fighting mentally with this military government. So when it comes to the real this type of coup situation, we are the one mentally who we can lead them mentally, and we are ready. We are ready physically too. Like you can see in the eastern, in the northern, the Kachin, the Kayin, they have been secretly armed. That was before. Then it was like seen by majority that okay, they are just what is that? They are just the people who use arm to fight back the Burma people. That's the view they have. Now they come to understand that okay, they are protecting their rights, they are protecting their land. Now they started to see that. So I think it's out of all this disaster, what we can take is that mutual understanding between all the people. It seemed like we feel that the spirit of independence is 1947 spirit, 1948 spirit have been coming up together, because we all are equal. It's not about majority Burma. It's about we have to work together to have a very good Myanmar country.
Yeah, that's definitely what has to happen in order for the people to win. I want to stay focused a bit on Chin State and Chin community. We've learned a bit about the culture and the geography and the people there. So February 1st happens, the coup is initiated. And what is the response in Chin State? I know that there are many diverse communities, as you mentioned, so the different tribes or areas or regions might have diverse responses. But after February 1st, what can you tell us about what kind of response we saw in Chin State?
Okay. After February 1st, Kalay, Kalay is geographically under second division, but Kalay majority of the people are, as I said, the Chin people. We have here Zomi, Mizo, and everything. So Kalay is the first city or the first town that fight back against the military. You will heard about this Tahan defense. So we fight. We started from Kalay in March. So and in Kalay we have been protesting from February 8th. Peaceful protesters were started the street protesting on February 8th. It very strong peaceful protest. I think everybody out in the road and the road were filled with people in Kalay. And at that time, Hakka Township, they are also protesting, and Falam Township, they are also protesting. Tedim Township also protesting, and Tonzang also protesting. Most of the township, there are 9 townships in Chin State, Chin Hill, and I think most of the people are protesting there. And from the Chin States, after Kalay have been fighting back to the military with the thing we have, like to me, or the man-made gun, because they have been killing this civilians. So we are protecting in Kalay on March. I think 27 is the first defense have been the first what should I say, the first fighting have been broke out in March 27, March 28 I think in Kalay. And then now, as you know, Mindat is fighting really strong in their town. And even this morning I have contact with one of the lady from Mindat. They are still in the jungle, running with the old people, running with the women, children, and we are very worried for them. And so, in support of that, our Zomi people from Tedim, we have been doing our very best, like to support them, humanitarian aids, in prayer, and even the Zomi Federal Union group have work, or they have like some fight back in the region itself, so that the tensions of the military will be spread in the Chin State. Also, Hakka have fought back. So now I think more or less most of the township have been started making their voice heard through our local handmade gun. We call it Tumi. You also will read it on the news. So that's, I think, the brief story, or the brief protest in our Chin Hill. And one of our main main strategy is also CDM, Civil Disobedient Movement. So even for me, I work closely with this Zomi Federal Union. So under that, under that umbrella, up to March, we have given 1,300 plus CDMers the support we can. So this now the government is not giving the salary to education department too. So the amount, or the people who have joined to the CDM, it's mounted into now around 3,000 to 4,000 in our Zomi located area, Tidim and Tonzang Township alone. So it's in that 2 township alone is around 3,000 to 4,000 CDM. That is one of the main strategy in this Spring Revolution too. So in other township like Hakka, like Falam, they are also doing the best they can. But my main access, or the information I'm very close, or I'm very I know clearly of, is mainly on the northern part of Chin State, among the Zomi people.
Right. So you mentioned that even from the very early days in March, some Chin people started fighting back. Can you explain in more detail what that involved and what ways were they fighting back?
Actually, in March 2, 3, around there in Kalay, the military start use violence or start shoot against the peaceful protester in Kalay. So in that peaceful protester group, there are Bama, there are Zomi, there are Mizo, there are Falam, all the people from Chinland are included. So that's the beginning where where this military have started using their guns their guns against the citizen. So from there we have been preparing, and on March 27 we heard that on the Armed Force Day. We heard that there will be a big shooting from the military side. So our people have prepared in the Tahan, where the Zomi people are mainly located. We prepared the fort. We prepared a place where these peaceful protesters can protest freely. So we have camped there in the Tahan, where most of the Zomi people are located. And inside the camp, there are Bama, there are lots of people, all the tribe from Kalay Township have come inside the camp, and we do peaceful protest together inside. So, and in 28, the military have started shooting that camp in the Tahan. So there are lots of people dying there from the citizen side, and also there are lots of people dying in the military side. I'm not sure of the exact number, but that is the first real fighting between the military and the civilian in Myanmar using arms.
I see. And who was in charge of protecting that camp?
The in charge is like we have a committee. It's that committee was formed in February, I think February 6th in Kalay. The committee itself included student union and Zomi union and all the civil organization of Kalay. So we have a lots of dialect like Burma. We have Bama. We have our under Chin. We also have Mizo, and all the Chin tribe also included in the leading committee. So that non-violent movements tribe committee have urged the people of this Tahan township to protect. So they form another committee to in charge of that Tahan, Tahan fort or Tahan camp.
So there was this committee of nonviolent, peaceful protesters of all different ethnicities and religions who banded together to want to come out to show their solidarity in peacefully protesting, and a higher leadership that was also encouraging that unity.
It's a camp. It's a camp inside the city. I just mentioned the camp because they are staying together. So who safeguard them or who protect them was also the people among the people from the citizen itself. When we have that peaceful protesting in the camp, then the people have joined hand together and say that we have to protect these people with whatever we have. Maybe knife, maybe our handmade gun, gas gun, or so they form it KCA. You heard about it, Kalay Civil Army. Under Kalay Civil Army, we have a lots of this, a lots of groups, a lots of unit. Under KCA, we have Zomi unit. Under KCA, we have like Zomi Federal Army. Under KCA, we have this Mizo unit. Under KCA, we have this Burmese unit, Burma unit. Under KCA, we have this Falam unit. Under KCA, we have this Hakka unit. We have a different unit, so we form it together. We name it like KCA, Kalay Civil Army, and we come and we protect these non-violent people with this KCA, Kalay Civil Army. So protect in the sense that we are not well equipped with all the machine guns and all. We just go there with some go there with the bare hand, knife, and whatever we can from our home. So yeah, those are the people, the KCA people who protect this non-violence group. the military first attacked the Kalay in March 2. Before that, they also attacked the citizen in any other regions of Myanmar also. Like in the Rangoon, they already killed some people. In Mandalay, they already killed some people. But what I mean is that the first fighting, I mean the first citizen that who had fought back with whatever we have, was in Kalay. Yeah, with the people of Chin and with the people of Burma in Kalay.
So the military has taken over the country. There's a coup. They're trying to control every neighborhood, big and small. And as you've mentioned, the first resistance on the part of the people that you know of came from Chin State, came from Kalay community. So why do you think it was, of all the places in Myanmar, that what does that tell us about this region, that this was the first one to start to stage a resistance?
As I said, I think our people, the Zomi or the Mizo or this whoever stay in the Chin state, our culturally we are a hunter. So with our own Tumigan, we used to hunt in the jungle of like deer or like tigers, or that's the culture of our people, that we go hunting. So we have our own handmade weapon at like almost every home in the Chin here. So we are ready with the weapons, and we are familiar. The people are also very familiar with shooting of this handmade gun. So I think that is one of the things. And also Kalay is, I should say, it's a united people of different ethnic group. Pama are there, Chinese are there, Indian are there, and among the Chin we have, as I said, we have 7 or 8 different dialects. Right, all of us are here. It's a city of united. So we all have our own suffering as a minority in the whole Burma. So we can come together, we can join hands together, and when we speak it, it's louder than any other region of the country. I think that's the main thing.
I've also heard that Chins are considered quite independently minded as a community, and that I've heard that as another explanation for some of the stand that Chins have taken. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree totally, because before this Union of Myanmar was formed, we are independent. We have our own chief who have ruled us. Then we have been like very independent people, and have our own culture, or have our own ways of living. So I think that is also one of the reasons. Yep, I agree on what you said.
The Chin fought alongside the Americans in World War II against the Japanese, right?
Yep, against the Japanese and against the British too. Like when the first time when the Japanese and Burmese army combined together, and we fought back the British first time, and the Chin were included. And then the second time when we fought again the Japanese together with the British, then we were also there, especially in the Chin Hill. But the voice of that was barely heard to the war.
That's right. Yeah. And you mentioned on one hand how independently minded many in the Chin community are, and yet you've also talked about this beautiful, wonderful sense of unity that you're feeling with Myanmar from all over the country and being united in a common cause. And so do you think, in looking towards the kind of future that you want to build, do you want to live in a pluralistic society where you're living with members of other ethnic and religious groups, or do you think that Chins would like to be a bit more independent and form their own land or their own territory if they had that choice?
Federalism is like one of the main topic. It has been speak out after military coup. I think that will work, or that will allow the people to decide what they want in the future. So I think that is good enough, because this is up to the people of the land, that they will decide whether they will stay independent, whether they will stay with the Burmese people. So I also strongly believe in that. It's totally depend on the people who have stayed in the land So maybe I think it's independent in the sense that maybe in the future I'm not sure, but currently to get independent out of this Myanmar and have our own country, it's not the intention of the people currently. Maybe I don't know after 50 years, 100 years, but currently it's not the major intention. Currently, what the people want is that they want their voice, or they want their voice to be heard, or they want their rights to be respected. It's sovereignty overall, what we want, sovereignty. So if it is good for the people of Chinland to work together with the Burma as a Myanmar, that will be good. If the sovereignty is better or sovereignty is stronger, if we have to move out of Myanmar and stay independent, then that will be another way. I think sovereignty and where our wellness is being protected will be the future decision that our people will do.
And can you tell me a little about these handmade Chin weapons that I believe date back to the 19th century resistance against the British?
To me is the name of the gun that we use. It's a handmade gun. Usually, our people of Chinland have like almost every house have those type of gun. It's a handmade gun. We use them for hunting in the jungle. We go to the jungle, we hunt, and this is the culture of our people in Chinland. We do lots of hunting.
So have you made one of these guns?
I'm not familiar with those to me gun. Yeah.
Right. What kinds of animals are usually hunted?
It's like deer a lot in the Chin Hill, deer, and like wild pig. I don't know the exact name. It's a category under pig. It's a wild pig, or a type of these wild bats are there. So yeah, especially like deer and all these lots. Before then we have like tiger, lions. We have nowadays it's very few due to this poaching.
Mm-hmm. And then what is done with the animal products?
Usually the people of the Chin Hill, they usually eat it, and the skin and all they use for this chair or the tools that we use for our house.
Oh, right. So it's used for a number of different purposes.
Yep.
Yeah, that was actually a question I meant to ask you at the start of the interview about Chin food. Can you tell us a bit about what we can expect of cuisine if we were to roll into a local village in Chin State?
Mainly grow corn, especially in the Zomi area. We mainly grow this corn, and we dry it. Then we use it for our main food before the rice and all were like easily transported to Chinland. We use this corn, so it's very special. And I should say before our Chinland food were not very popular, but nowadays it's become very popular, even among our Burma friend and all, because our before then it's very hard for Chin State to get even oily stuff and all the ingredients and all the salt, and even salt is very difficult to get in Chin Hill before. So our food is mainly of steam food and very less artificial thing. So it's very healthy product, I should say. But before that, people don't usually like all this healthy stuff. But when in these days, these organic food are very popular, becoming very popular, and our Chin Hill food are also now getting popular among even our Burmese friends, because it's mainly of organic food, our food. Culturally, we don't use much of other ingredients. It's just the organic food, the water, pure, steam it, and those. So maybe if you come up to the country, it's a mix of, it's like a porridge, but instead of rice, inside the porridge, we use this corn, dry corn to put it in. And that will be, and we mix with some of the meat which we get from the hunter, from poaching. So that will be, I think, my or as a suggestion of a must-taste food
That's great. That's great. I hope that some of our listeners get to try it someday. Going back to these guns that are handmade, that are common in Chin households, how are these guns different from other kinds of weapons? Like, what makes them a Chin homemade rifle or gun? How are they constructed in such a way that they're unique from guns or weapons you'd find in other communities?
Okay, in Myanmar, having this gun or machine gun is not allowed. But in Chin here, this is our tradition. So they have given us few license before from the independence. So we have license gun. Those guns are, as I said, to me, each have a long a long, I should say a long hole or what, I don't know the name. A long hole is handmade. Then we have to put it in some gunpowder and some this iron ball, and they have to pound at it, and it take around maybe 2 to 3 minutes to be ready to shoot one bullet. So it's not like a machine gun. You just shoot and 3-4 bullets can go out. No, you have to prepare it. So that is the type of gun we have. We have to pound the gunpowder inside a gun pipe, a gun pipe, and we have to be ready. It's take around 2 to 3 minutes to shoot one bullet. So it's not very very suitable for a war like this. Even mean that they are very brave. That's why they dare to come up with those guns, because when they shoot one bullet, they have to have like exact target, because it will take another 2 to 3 minutes to reload it. While the other military people, they just press the trigger and they will be exact, like numbers of bullets are coming up. It's the difference between those machine gun and our Zomi is that we have to reload and we have to take time 2 to 3 minutes every time we shoot.
So these are not really good weapons to be using by security forces that want to resist the military.
No, it's not that good, because it's very very risky, or it's take time. But I really respect the bravery of our brother and sister in Mindat, because they have come up with those weapons. Those who don't know, to me, they might just think that okay, they have a gun, but it's totally different. Those gun and the gun that have military use. So they are very 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 brave to stand up with those guns against this military.
So we've been referencing Mindat, and I'd like to focus on that specifically now and go into some detail about what's been happening there. Should mention that this interview will be released sometime after we record. So for listeners that are hearing our talk now, there certainly will have been more developments that we're not aware of in this conversation. Nonetheless, I think it's very valuable to be able to go back to the beginning of the siege and learn in more detail about what exactly has been happening there. So can you bring us to the beginning of this crisis in Mindat and tell us what happened, why it happened, and what's currently going on?
Okay, in Mindat, they have actually the whole Burma have been, as you know, after the coup, the military people, they have brutally killed the citizen, even in Mindat. And here, Mindat, as I say, Mindat is in Chin State. It's one of the district. We have 9 districts in Chin State, and Mindat is one of the district, and they have populations of, I think, around maybe 40 to 50,000 population. So they are very very brave enough to come up against those military, because according to the news and according to the things that I heard from them, was the military, as usual, they captured some of the peaceful protesters, and when they released back, some were dead. Even students and now even children were included. So to defend our citizen, mean that people have to step up so that this brutal oppression will be end in the Mindat. So that's the overall situation in Mindat.
And can you take us back to the beginning, to the start of it? For listeners that aren't familiar with the story, what has the military been doing in Mindat?
Okay, so in Mindat, as I said, this military coup. They brutally like kill the people of Mindat people. They kill all over the Myanmar. They kill the people of Mindat, and they targeted to the CDMers. Who have protest against the government by not going to their work. They target and they pull out and they kill the people, and they captured some of the Mindat peaceful protester. The military. So these Mindat people come and join together under one arm force, or they group it themselves, I think, and then they shoot back, or they fight back against the military due to the oppression that they have been suffering in the region.
Right. And you mentioned that you're also involved in providing relief and assistance for those that are living in Mindat and that are facing this terror. So what is life like right now in Mindat? Is there any sense of normalcy? What are the people doing? What are their needs right now?
It's not normal yet. Today morning itself, I talked to one of the women who have worked there as a healthcare, and I talked to her. They are still under the jungle they are running, and they said that they have some of the camp where people can come and stay there, but the military even come to those camps. So they are in a very, very mad situation, and what they said is that they will need all the help they can. They need food. They will come to need this shelter or tent, because heavy raining season is coming soon in our state, in our country. They will need for help. They will need for basic medicines. So as for me, as a Zomi group, we are trying to support them as much as we can through this Mindat lady who is currently located inside the Mindat area. And here, one thing you have to know is that we can't even send money or send goods to them directly. We have to send through other city around that Mindat. They have some of the people who can help them, so we have to send to them. Then they will go up and secretly to the jungle or to the place where these people were hiding, and they will help them in that way. They are still in a very, very mad situation. They need all the possible help, and even prayer, even all the supporting words, and every possible way they need help.
Yeah, and we definitely encourage our listeners to keep them in their prayers. If you're Christian, to send metta. If you're Buddhist or a meditator, whatever good thoughts you can keep for people under the siege right now, and for those that are able to help financially. That our organization, our nonprofit, Better Burma, can receive those funds. And if you would like to earmark them for these people outside of Mindat, then we can assure to get your donation to Mark, where it can go roundabout to reach safely the people, because the military is trying to block all aid and medical, health, food that is going to the people. So you mentioned that a number of people are fleeing. They fled their homes. They're in the jungle. People of all ages are trying to hide deeper and deeper. So that are a number of people that are in flight. Are there also any that are in fight? Is there any resistance that is being staged right now to the security forces, or is everyone going into hiding and retreat at the moment?
There are some security forces who are still trying to fight them back. As I say, the weapons are totally like unmatched. They even say that if gun to gun, then we are not afraid with our gun. But they use this airstrike, and now the ground people say that they are even use this chemical weapons too. So they can't unmatch those weapons, but they are fighting in every possible way. They don't flee away. They are near the township. The defense teams are near the township. They are fighting back with all the possible way they can. And I think some of the groups are also helping them with the better arms equipment. And it's not many, just 1 or 2 are flowing in. It is also very difficult. So they are very eager to get back their own land, which they have owned and stayed in that land for many centuries. So they try to get back their land from the intruders of these Burmese military people. But currently, the situation is the weapons are not matched. So they are getting all the help from every possible ways, and people are also trying to give them in through every possible way. And at least for us, as I said, if we try to give them money or shelter or food as much as we can. On the other hand, on the other part of the country, or even like for Zomi people in Tidim Tonzang, they are making voices, so that more attention will be spread out, and more battalions will have to coming into other district of the state, so that the forces in Mindat will be a bit reduced. Or when they had that other people also standing up with them, they will have more courage, or they will have more strength to walk with their people, because they are suffering. Suffering means they are the older people, the children, women's. They even rapes the women's over there. So when I have a chance to talk to that lady, they even cry through the phone to the strangers like me who they never met. So that is how tense the situation is over there. So yeah, they are raping the women, they are killing brutally. They even say that, I don't know, they are like crazy, or they high with some of the vaccine. They said, because they are not like human, they are very cruel. Because when I talked to her first time, she's running with the old women and men and children, and she just cried. She didn't even know me. She just cried. She said, the only thing we can do is pray and run. So please pray for me. And we have paused our conversation like for 30 to 60 seconds. We never seen each other outside. We never known before. She cried because the situation is damn tense over there. It's like a hell for them. So that's why I ask to all the listeners, whatever possible way, please help to the country, and currently especially in Mindat, they are very, very much in need of your help, your prayer, your physical help, your mental help.
Mm-hmm. And how did that make you feel, having a conversation that was so emotional and traumatic with someone you hadn't met?
It was like very, very hard, very, very hard, because I can't do anything. So the only thing I can do is I connect her through the organization as much as possible. I call to the Zomi organizations outside of the country, if they can help with is every little money or everything. And I called to some of the group inside the Burma where they are supporting like medical supply and all. That's the only thing I can do. And I asked I asked our people to pray for them, and we have a pray session for them. And I asked some of the youth to make some noises, or to tease the military side, so that attention will not only enter into Mindat, so that it will deviate the attention to the other region too. That's the only thing we can do. We can't do more than that. So it's very, very limited that we can help. Let's say I even have some of the medical boxes to enter into that, but the road were blocked. Even medical supply were blocked by the military. That's the very tense situation. I can't imagine how hard it would be for them.
Right. Yeah. That's just a terrible situation to be in, and for what the Tamada is inflicting on these people. And you mentioned airstrikes. How bad have the airstrikes been in Mindat?
Okay, airstrike. They do airstrike a lot to Mindat. let me explain here a bit about the situation in our Chin here and other part, like Kachin, Karen. They have been fighting against this military for so long, like it has been centuries. So they know when the airstrike come, they have like a dark or underground to hide it. Our Chinland have been like, we never protest, we just stay peacefully. Sorry, we just stay peacefully and we just stay by ourselves. So we don't even have the experience of facing the airstrike. So the damage is much more than any other part of the country due to unexpected or an inexperienced airstrike. And so that's they burn down lots of villages through airstrike. And also what they do is that they do transportation, they block all the roads, and they do military transportation through the helicopters inside the Mindat city, and they supply food to the military people through the helicopters, and they block all the entries of goods. So the people who have stayed inside the city itself were a lack of food, lack of medicine. And this airstrike, apart from that, they even targeted to the camp where those people are hiding. So it's that cruel currently.
And I've heard that in some communities there's not even water.
Yeah. Water is very difficult in the Chin Hill. Water is also quite difficult. They have, maybe I think they will have to. That's my guess. They will have to go to miles through motorcycle and get water for drinking and all. That is very risky for them too. So yeah, they even need this gas for their bike to go and get some of the food secretly, some of the water secretly.
When you mentioned how some of the other Chin communities are making noise, as you put it, and making some distraction or diversion to decrease the numbers that are in Mindat, it really strikes me. I mean, number one, that's just an incredibly brave thing to do, to purposely draw attention of a ferocious and drugged out military in order to relieve their presence elsewhere. But it also seems to be breaking a kind of norm that happened in previous generations and previous conflict, where the military was able to inflict terrible horror and terror on one community, and everyone else was so afraid that they stayed silent, they stayed indoors, they didn't do anything. They just hoped that if they just didn't go out or do anything themselves, then they would somehow be spared. And that was a strategy that really worked in the military's favor, of being able to terrorize whoever they wanted to, while everyone else would just be so afraid they would just stay away from it and not want to draw any attention. And I remember way back in February in Yangon, I was just amazed at one night where they were, I don't remember what district this was in Yangon or what day it was, but or what night it was. But I remember that military forces had come to terrorize one particular community. It might have been Sanchang, and because they were quite active in the beginning. And even though there was a curfew and it was like the middle of the night, word started to spread, and every other community in Yangon started to break the curfew and go out on their street and put themselves in mortal risk, put themselves in danger, violate the curfew laws that had been imposed by the military, to be able to relieve the pressure that was building on one place. And so the military had to disperse to respond to different threats. And that seemed to me very different from what we've seen before, where people just kind of wanted to stay silent, stay at home, not raise their head, keep themselves safe. So I'm curious if you also see a difference in the response in 2021, that more people are being courageous, are taking risks, are putting themselves out there, and are not just kind of staying back and hoping that they can spare themselves and that it can pass over, but people are going out of the way when they don't need to take risks in service of people that are at risk.
Yep. That's the only thing we can do, and that's the beauty, I should say, the unity that we see during this our Spring Revolution. I think especially it started through the Generation Z, because they are very quiet, especially about politics, Generation Z before. And this time they speak very loud. They attack people compared to other generation. So they use social platform wisely, and the voice were reached outside of the country, and the voice and the message was spread through the whole country. They use different type of tech to get message to any part of the country, especially like in Mindat, the internet have been shut down when they fight. But this youth have the way to get the pictures. This youth have the ways to get the message to come out. So I really respect the unity that this time we have seen in the community, because the Burma, the Zomi, the Mizo, the Mindat, we all have been like separated by lots of differences. But this time that have like get aside, and the unity have come together. If Mandalay was like stand up, if Mandalay had stand up for any protest, then the other city has followed. Even now, under a very tense situation, the youth of the country they still, like, even in Rangoon, they will be sitting in the tea shop, and they suddenly run into street and strike for like 5 to 10 minutes, where they are very close with the real machine gun who like normally shoot to the people. They are that brave. Even in Mandalay, they sit together in the tea shop, they suddenly stand up and they sing a protest song. And even in like Kalay, where I stay, the youth will go out to some places where their voice can be heard in a way that their safety will be also like some extent protected. They use different kind of ways to express their way, and I see a lot of unity. I think if we can keep that up, the victory is very near.
Yeah, and as brutal and cruel as the military can be, we're seeing, in addition to this unity, an incredible type of intelligence and creativity and critical thinking on the part of the protesters to be able every day to reinvent the way they're going to respond to an ever-changing environment of danger. And you mentioned the way that they're using tech, they're using social media and sharing. Well, that's exactly what we're doing now with this podcast platform. We're living in an age where in your small community, you're able to, even with all the ways that they've tried to cut internet, you're able to go to a place where you can get connected. We can have this conversation. This platform can carry this dialogue that we're having, and it will be heard by people all around the world that are able to learn from you and engage based on how you're sharing your reality in your town, among your community, and what you're seeing day to day and those experiences. So we're also able to use tech in that way, and you are as well. And looking at you and your background, it sounds like you came from more of a business background. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you did not have so much like an interest or an involvement in politics or human rights or that type of thing. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm not that much interested in politics. I'm mainly my background and my study is mainly on business. And people used to say, why are you doing all these things? And it's not about we are interested or not. It's about time that everyone have to have that role, because no business is running. Everything is shut down. So the only thing currently we can do is this current political situation. We have to make our interest in it. We have to do our best to involve in it. I'm not from political background at all.
So what has it been like for you to move from a background where you were really just trying to get ahead in business, coming from a small town community and trying to do the best you could for your professional career, and moving into a completely different kind of life now of providing relief, coordination, whatever else you're doing? How has that transition been?
It's a hard one, but I think it's a noble deed, what I can do currently. I feel like it's when we start facing it's everyone feeling that it's really hard one. But everyone is doing currently what they can do. Not only me, we have access through this platform. That's why you heard my voice. But in Myanmar, everyone is doing their best they can. Even like 8 p.m. pattern point strike is one of the very few example that everyone is included in this stream. For me to involve in this is like quite hard, but this is our national call or our duty for our generation to do whatever we can to fight against this military people, because here our youth are taking up guns instead of they have to be in school studying, and my only intention is I want them to be back in the school. I want them to be back in the football field where they want to be. I want them to be back in the scenery where they are drawing and where they are enjoying their own passions, not taking gun and shooting each other. That's now the only thing what we are doing is to get back our own rights and our own freedom. So this situation is really tense and really messed up, because it's not what we wanted to do. Not only me, the whole country. Overall, the whole country, our peoples are doing what we have to do. Then we really want to be get out of this. We'll try our best. We'll be doing our best, because this is not only the duty of politicians. It's like the duty of everybody in the country.
Well said. And as far as you're comfortable in sharing, what can you tell us about the role that you've taken on and what you are doing to support the movement?
Currently support them. I'm closely working with the Zomi people in the Chin states, and under Zomi we have Zomi Federal Union. It's grouped with the people who are interested in federal. We form a union. Under that we have different wings. We have defense, we have CDM support teams, we have non-violence team, and like finance, and we have teams. So usually when it needs to talk with the NUG or CRPH or CRCH or any other like international organization, then they use me as their spokesperson, and we have a committee whereby we can support technically to this Zomi Federal Union. And so in that support team, I was there. We support them technically, like they are doing this like draft constitution. So in those days, I have to help them to get the real politicians or the real political expert to get into that committee. So I'm technically supporting them in whatever ways I can. I'm under this technical support teams. Especially my duty is to act as their PR, and on the other hand to act as the to form the committee or the technical support team as it is necessary.
For many listeners that are trying to follow along what's happening in Myanmar, that are outside the country and so not living in it, but trying to follow along and understand the best they can, what about the experience of being on the ground and being involved directly in the movement would you like them to understand? What about the experience of what you're going through that you feel has not really been understood through social media or through reporting, that is part of the story that's just getting missed? What would you like people outside the country to be able to understand about what is going on there and what the experience is like?
The situation in the ground is like every movement, even like this interview and everything, is come along with life risk. So lots of risks are there in the ground. So that we need every possible way of support, like even prayer and money support, physical support, all the support we need it. And we what we want you to understand is that even just a little voice that you shout out through the social media was very helpful to the people in the ground. And on the other hand, we usually receive some of the strategy advice from outside the country, but we cannot pass those like through all the strategies to the youth in the ground directly, because they are under the life-threatening situation. If they move a bit, they have to be very, very careful. Otherwise, their life is under threat. So sometimes the strategy advised by the outside world, we cannot use some of them because the youth are, as I said, they are under very life-threatening situation. On the other hand, they are not expert, or we are not expert in the war situation, because as I said, we come from very, very different background. So we are doing our best in the ground. Then we need every possible help in the ground, and please do support us in whatever we do. And yeah, I think that will be the message I'd like to give.
So on this platform, you're able to speak to a wider audience, and people from all around the world in their own walks of life are able to hear your voice, hear your story about what you're going through. And we covered a number of topics through my questions, but I want to make sure that you have the chance to express yourself for anything you would like to get out there that my questions or the discussion has not covered so far. So is there anything else that you want to make your voice heard to people listening?
I think it's about love. We have to get and respect that we have to get and share among every other people, because before we come into this type of mess situation, we never thought that those love, caring, or respecting other view, other point of view have been not that valuable. Now we're under this tense situation. I mean, maybe most of the listener will have a very good environment where they can have respect and love. So I want you to treasure it. Then please spread those very good messages as much as you can, and that will prevent all the war in the war. Because now, as we are suffering, and I heard recently that Israel and Hamas, the people are also suffering, but I heard that they are in ceasefire. That's very good, and we want every war on the world to be end, because that's the duty of all the people who are listening to that. I should say, because without this peaceful, or without this love, without care to each other, without respecting each other, there won't be a good society. So please do pray and help us in that. And especially like Chin State, we are one of the poorest. We are one of the poorest states in Myanmar, and also we have, as I said, we have different dialect compared to other states. We have 7 to 8 dialect which we cannot understand each other too. So we have lots of differences. So we are uniting through all those differences, and in the future for recovering of the country, the states, and the people, we will need a lot of support, especially what as a Zomi Federal Union we are expecting is, after this fight we have to fight with the support of you people, and after this fight we want our people to have a good education, a good mindset education, a good physical and a good academic education after this war. So maybe I want in every possible way, if you can support the country, the states, and the people in the Chin State with education, that will be a very, very great help for long run. That's what I want to point out here, because our country needs a good education system, so that our thinking, our mindset will be wider, and we can have a very good harmony society very soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I also want to ask, you had mentioned that growing up in your life, Christian faith and Christian teachings played a really great role in your outlook and perspective in life. And through these very difficult days, sometimes people do fall back on their faith, on their religious teachings, on their spirituality to get through some of the worst times imaginable. So has your Christian faith been a source of support and inspiration for you? And if so, how has it been something helpful at this time?
I should admit that I pray a lot more than before. And Bible verses which I memorized when I was a child never been as helpful as this period.
Which Bible verses? What?
I like Psalm 23. That's Psalm 23, 24. That's currently which we recite a lot, but in our own dialect, of course. Yep. We usually by heart them by Burmese. It's usually of Psalm 23. However, priya di ngai tu dhen phit dormu adi se ma khan sai nan do yan nai ngau ai se dormu ta ya dam yan na do lam pya dormu nga win yo a phyu nai nga win yo a phyu nama do pu lu nga tia do la pu saung dormu. It's a verse of Psalm 23. God is my shepherd, like I shall not want. I think that's a verse. I think, and I will not be like poor and lonely. And in terms of like travel and in terms of like difficult situation, He will guide me through the valley. And if I walk through the valley of that, I think He will be a light and source of like maybe my leader or my mentorship, something like that.
And why has this verse been of such inspiration and support to you during these days?
Okay, I think that's the Bible verses that maybe my parents have been like let me by heart for so many long ago. That never been like alive in my life. Then currently when we come to this type of like a very, very dark situation, so it's probably in my mind that it's very inspiring and it's very, heartwarming by the Bible phrases. And also unexpectedly, most of my Christian friend, they know it. So this is one of the things that we can recite together.
So sometimes when you meet your colleagues after a hard day, you come together and you recite this verse together.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Not all with all, because here we have some who are very, very much strong in religion, some very who are not that strong in religion, some Buddhists are there. So, we have to respect their belief too. So sometimes we recite together when we come with like the friend whom we like really close, and we just sometimes recite that.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time with us here today. And I will definitely keep you in my thoughts and my metta, and I'm sure that other listeners will as well, and wishing you success, wishing you safety. And thank you so much for making use of this platform to be able to share your voice and your experience to the rest of the world.
Yep. Thank you very much for your time. Then please share our voices so that the good message it will be spread more as much as it can. Thank you very much.
As inspiring as it was to hear today's guest, I know from experience that when you're listening from so far away, there can also be a certain kind of helplessness in hearing about the struggle that people like them are now engaged in. Thankfully, we have organized a reliable way for interested listeners to provide valuable assistance to those local communities. All donations will be sent to support the protesters currently resisting the military coup. By taking an active role in helping support the movement, you can ensure that people like today's speaker have even a few more resources to draw on and can manage even another week more in their efforts. If you would like to join in our mission to support those in Myanmar who are resisting the military coup, we welcome your contribution in any form, currency, or transfer method. Every cent goes immediately and directly to funding those local communities who need it most. Donations go to support such causes as the Civil Disobedience Movement, CDM, families of deceased victims, and the purchasing of protective equipment and medical supplies. Or if you prefer, you can earmark your donation to go directly to the guest you just heard on today's show. In order to facilitate this donation work, we have registered a new nonprofit called Better Burma for this express purpose. Any donation you give on our Insight Myanmar website is now directed to this fund. Alternatively, you can visit our new Better Burma website, which is betterburma.org, and donate directly there. In either case, your donation goes to the same cause, and both websites accept credit cards. You can also give via PayPal by going to paypal.me/betterburma. Additionally, we can take donations through Patreon, Venmo, GoFundMe, and Cash App. Simply search Better Burma on each platform and you'll find our account. You can also visit either website for specific links to those respective accounts or email us at info@betterburma.org. In all cases, that's Better Burma, one word, spelled BETTERBURMA. If you would like to give in another way, please contact us. Thank you so much for your kind consideration. You've been listening to the Insight Myanmar podcast. We'd appreciate it very much if you could rate, review, and/or share this podcast. Every little bit of feedback helps. You can also subscribe to the Insight Myanmar podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you get your podcasts to make sure you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. If you can't find our feed on your podcast player, please just let us know and we'll ensure it can be offered there in the future. Also, make sure to check out our website for a list of our complete episodes, including additional text, videos, and other information available at insightmyanmar.org. And I also invite you to take a look at our new nonprofit organization at betterburma.org. There was certainly a lot to talk about in this episode, and we'd like to encourage listeners to keep the discussion going. Make a post, request specific questions, and join in on discussions currently going on the Insight Myanmar podcast Facebook group. You're also most welcome to follow our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts by the same name. If you're not on social media, feel free to message us directly at info@insightmyanmar.org. Or if you'd like to start up a discussion group on another platform, let us know and we can share that forum here. Finally, we're open to suggestions about guests or topics for future episodes. So if you have someone or something in mind, please do be in touch. We would like to take this time to thank everyone who made this podcast possible. Currently, our team consists of 2 sound engineers, Mike Bink and Martin Combs. There's of course Zach Hessler, content collaborator and part-time co-host. Ken Pransky helps with editing, and a special Mongolian volunteer who is asked to remain anonymous does our social media templates. In light of the ongoing crisis in Myanmar, a number of volunteers have stepped in to lend a hand as well. And so we'd like to take this time to appreciate their effort in our time of need. And we're always on the lookout for more volunteers during this critical time, so if you'd like to contribute, definitely let us know. We'd also like to thank everyone who has assisted us in arranging for the guests we've interviewed so far. And of course, we send a big thank you to the guests themselves for agreeing to come on and share such personal, powerful stories. Finally, we're immensely grateful for the donors who made this entire thing possible. We want to remind our listeners that the opinions expressed by our guests are their own and don't necessarily reflect the host or other podcast contributors. Please also note that as we are mainly a volunteer team, we do not have the capacity to fact-check our guest interviews. By virtue of being invited on our show, there's a trust that they will be truthful and not misrepresent themselves or others. If you have any concerns about the statements made on this or other shows, please contact us. This recording is the exclusive right of Insight Myanmar podcast and may not be used without the expressed written permission of the podcast owner, which includes video, audio, written transcripts, or excerpts of any episodes. Also not meant to be used for commercial purposes. On the other hand, we're very open to collaboration. So if you have a particular idea in mind for sharing any of our podcasts or podcast-related information, please feel free to contact us with your proposal. If you would like to support our mission, we welcome your contribution. During this time of crisis, all donations now go towards supporting the protest movement in Myanmar through our new nonprofit, Better Burma. You may give by searching Better Burma on PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, GoFundMe, and Patreon, as well as via credit card at betterburma.org/donation. You can also give right on our Insight Myanmar website, as all donations given there are directed towards the same fund. And with that, we're off to work on the next show, so see you next episode.